There's quite a few popular heroes that have come out of martial arts movies with the likes of Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. They helped to define the genre for the American public. And since then, there's been many movies that have come out that pay tribute to Hong Kong cinema. Some of these movies have become classics, like Police Story, Fist of Fury, and most famously, Enter the Dragon. But there's tons of other martial arts movies that just need to be seen to be believed. Martial arts movies take chances, and the stunts are almost always real. Now take the realistic fighting of martial arts and mix it with the special effects straight out of a Sam Raimi feature, and you'll get something like Riki-Oh, based on the Japanese manga of the same name. It takes place in a dystopian 2001, where all the prisons have become privatized. One of these facilities becomes home to Riki-Oh, who was sentenced for manslaughter for reasons we eventually learn later. While there, he finds out that the wings of the prison are controlled by a gang of 4, who, along with the warden and his assistant, hold the place in an antagonizing grip. After experiencing acts of corruption, Riki-Oh begins to fight numerous guards and leaders to protect the defenseless prisoners and bring justice to evil. This contains the tropes you'd find in any comic book movie, with a powerful superhero, Riki-Oh, possesses abnormally strong human strength, and a showdown between the good and the bad. This also brings to mind a number of prison movies like The Great Escape and The Shawshank Redemption, but there's something more brutal about Riki-Oh, either due to the nature of the bleak story and villains, or because the practical effects are a showcase in pure insanity and warped imagery. Every punch taken or given is enough to kill a man, with unrealistic amounts of gore and destruction. A simple fist to the belly will cause the perpetrator to tear through a torso. There's arms being ripped off, stomachs being torn apart, faces and chins being shed, and all of it's brought to an almost comedic level. It's bloody disgusting, but there's no way it could be accepted as believable. It just adds to the fun of this comic book adaptation. It goes along at a breakneck pace, no pun intended. The story isn't really there to keep you on your feet, it's just a matter of believing in Riki-Oh's journey and cheering for his eventual breakout. He gets into several altercations because someone with his ability has to do what's right by the helpless people who surround him, but there's no holding back. Not everyone gets a happy ending, and the enemies are as cruel as they come. There's no negotiating or being reasonable, they just want to see the others suffer. Like a lot of prison movies, you don't get an explanation for why everyone ended up behind bars, but we empathize because they're not only framed as the protagonists, but because we know their treatment is inhumane. We want to see the warden fail because, with institutions being privatized, we know they're only in it for the money, and they don't mind being jerks along the way. Everybody eventually gets their comeuppance, except for the youngest boy. I guess there was no room to teach this kid a lesson, but he was just as mean as the others. He needs to get something. Of course, this is most famous for the amounts of hyperviolence and gore. If you watch the finale of this thing, there's so much blood that it took the main actor, Fan Suwang, 3 days for it to completely wash off his body. There's just buckets of blood to go around, but it's all in good fun. There's never a moment where this isn't supposed to be a comic book movie. As far as feeling like an actual leap from the pages, I feel like this succeeds more than others with the visual style and editing. There's fast cuts during the action and some interesting techniques that are almost indescribable. For instance, one of the characters throws a punch and we get an image of an X-ray as the hand pulverizes the opponent's body. I've never seen anything like this. It feels in tone with other martial arts pictures, but has so many unique elements. I honestly wish there was more to be created with this kind of vision in mind. The effects are cheap at times, especially when we see a body leap off a building to their death. We cut to a mannequin bouncing on the street and it's humorous. But that's where a lot of the charm comes from. I wouldn't categorize this as something like Plan 9 from Outer Space because the effects are not laughably bad. They create a sense of a cartoon atmosphere, but that's the point. It's meant to feel like the Japanese manga it was based on. I only wish the English dub was a little better, but I wouldn't change it at this point. It's engraved into the mold for the American audiences who have witnessed it. It adds the extra bit of flavor to an already exciting treat. Riki-Oh was one of my favorite movie experiences in a long time, and I can't wait to revisit it in the future. Thanks to NolanCho for this Patreon request, and thanks to all my Patreon supporters. For only $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. Ask me to review anything I haven't already. There's also other perks like blogs, exclusive videos, and early access. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thanks so much for watching this video.